had a question. I remember I talked to you about focus. How do you focus? How do you get that adamant 100% focus?
Well, not everything can be explained. In other words, it takes a while to, basically figure out what the focus is. So that takes a little while to do that, and what your intent is also. There's many factors to this. I've explained it before, but there's steps to it like anything else. Just it's kind of like if you're a little kid and you're on an airplane and you go up and ask the pilot, gee, how did you learn to fly this plane? And it's the same thing. You decided at some point you wanted to be an airplane pilot, and you just went through the process, which is never easy, especially with something like that. And here we have, recognizing this true reality that in any sense cannot be determined or considered with the personal self. But we need that personal self to relate to, because this is where we're at with our awareness at this time. And we decide to gradually, get that. So it's time. Again, if you're in a classroom and you ask the teacher, gee, how'd you get to be the teacher? Well, teacher probably say, well, just like you, sitting there, going through the process, and eventually one day I was the teacher. So we're at the point now where, we don't have a program here. It's not a teaching. And many people have come from different things to get here. And this is where there's only very few, because you have to really, there has to be something that has to decide to see more than what they've been through. A person has been through, and take the risk to see more and to go into the unknown. So to get the focus, and the focus is always continually defined. It doesn't stay the same, you might say. It is continually defined. And this is where, just like anything, the intuitive nature of yourself picks this up, but there becomes a recognition there. So how can you say what it is? Well, at first you focus on the new you. You read the books, you have experiences, you look at your experiences, and the best thing to do is come on like Skypes and that and share, so that you hear other experiences too, so you get objective viewpoints. Because what life really is it's a view. It's a view to survive, really, is what it is. And that's what the is. It's just about survival, to continuously survival, and not just in stages, or be unaware totally, like you are in creation, like we go through in creation. So it's a struggle to do this, but this focus idea, goes along with intent and attitudes, etc. You set it up, you build it up how you see it, and from what, and again, life sees also, it sees your intent. The intent is very important. And it sees how sincere you are. And so again, that sincerity is a biggie. And that is that it kind of goes off of that. It's kind of like the school teacher. The teacher up there looking across the classroom. You're one person looking up at the teacher and you see the other students. But the teacher in the front of the classroom sees all the students, to where they don't really see themselves. For the most part, they think they do. They've got their own ideas about themselves, but they see more, and they see certain individuals with potential. So they will take the time with them, because they see the interest, the intent, and the sincerity of their potential. And they will, do things to motivate them in a way to see if they'll go further. This is really what a real teacher looks for in a classroom. Some teachers just teach, everybody's different. But my former wife was a school teacher, and she really cared. And she brought the kids around, and they were kind of funny and rowdy. It was a lower income neighborhood 2nd and 3rd grade that she taught, but she would tell me, I would listen to her as she taught in school, and all the things she went through for the 30 years that she taught was huge. And she took on a lot. She was exhausted when she came home and had to do homework. And so again, now we're looking at the whole of life, which you cannot even consider. Nobody can consider that. And when you do, you have to get past your thinking, and then that's a hurdle too. So again, because it's not about that. So it's all about seeing and being and deciding to be it also. That's a big decision. So you have these different factors to figure out. Now is the time to where you figure it out. So again, it's like becoming a pilot, to where you're taking the course, but at the same time, you know, you're learning your own intuitive way to connect with that position that you want to be in. And so, yeah, this. All I can do is give ideas, okay, and also, you know, relate to what we've been through, and that is that, yes, basically everything we've been to up to this point, up to the new presentation, is the idea that you've learned what not to do. Not thinking that, oh, gee, I learned all this stuff and now I know what to do. Well, actually, no. And so everything that I've been through too, since Paul's days and with others, etc., and through the corporation, actually was there. I was to stay there and see what not to do. And that's what I've done. I've decided not to do it, but a lot of people in their minds think, oh, this is like this or whatever. But actually it's not, because they don't see the real side of it. The surface side of it here. Yeah, we use the same words, rearrange them, I make new words, etc., because I want them to relate to this reality, because the old words just relate to old stuff that just recycles itself and really goes nowhere. Cute ideas, but actually nothing. It's learning to recognize what the real guides agree to and what life agrees to. That's the important part. For the longest time, it's all about us. Oh, we want this, we want spiritual freedom, we want more money, we want a better job, we want blah, 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 etc. Want. But the whole of life is not about that. In creation, that's what things are. But the true reality of life is, no, it's its own reality to see it. So learning to see what this reality is. This is the seeing part. And then from there, deciding that that's what you want your focus and intent to be, and you decide how to play around with that and do different things, etc. So it's more than just even having the experience, because all experiences will come and go. It's not about just having the experience and it's like, oh, I know the ISSNISS. No, it's more than that, because life is endless and there will always be something more. So again, this personal self is very interesting, because it is only interested in itself. That's it. And it can't go any further than that. So you, as the real awareness operating it, you are the decider, but you must decide at some point to decide to be indifferent to what the personal self decides also. See, that's a tricky one too to identify with and recognize. So again, yeah, the focus goes in many areas. The intent, again, is very, very important, because that's the real you. How you intend, you know, how you intend to be and see and decide and to share, present, whatever, because that's part of your experience. That's why the real guides are here, and they create things for us so that we can have the experience. You know, just like Kevin, he's placed in these experiences so he can have the experience, just like going to school. And at the same time, he's willing to share this and do something and present this to the public, where most people aren't. They have excuses. They don't have time. Oh, I don't know that. I've never done it. And all these things. Okay, fine. Well, you know, I never did this either, becoming the new man and whatever, and deciding how to do that. I had to figure it out. It took a lot of years. And so You start somewhere. But yes, focus is part of it. Intent is the biggie, but there's many things that go with this. So I'm going to write another group here on Facebook. It's called the True Course. Now, when Paul was here, because it was the spiritual days and he was the babysitter, he gave it 25 years to become a so-called master, whatever that means. Okay, well, that really didn't work. It sounded good. It gave people, you might say, hope or something. But actually, he just put these things out there so that people would, they could relate to something. But realistically, it's a lot more than that. So I've been at this since Paul's days in 1970, over 50 years. So I'm going to relate to it's more like 50 years if you can keep going with it, because you really have to go through a lot to really be able to see it. And those people that think they see it, well, those are the ones that never do. They really don't, because they cannot get aside from their own attitudes of their mind. They'll be thinking that, oh, I know this, I've read this, whatever. It's not about reading. It's not about knowing it. It's about seeing and being, etc. And again, people deciding how the guides are, deciding how life is, and many thinking that the is another God or whatever. No, it's not. It's not an authority. It's an isness, like the air you breathe. It supports everything, but you decide to breathe. All of us. And we don't even really consciously consider breathing. But without the air, we're not here. That's real. So without this isness, you don't exist. But it's simply a support that equals itself with how you decide to recognize it. That's how it is. And so it doesn't matter what a person thinks here. We're just playing in the field to feel our way along with ideas that we create, so we have something to relate to where eventually we start to get the hint, we start to get the insight. From intuition, you gain insight, and eventually recognition of the real you and how you're operating these bodies objectively, and then eventually perceiving the is. That's like reading, being able to read it, to actually interpret it, but not necessarily into a language. That's not the idea, because state of being, it's very, very real. And so getting to that part, and that's a whole lot, because life is big. So there's no rush, but on the way, it's going to take, just like when you're in school, I'm sure the teacher told you many times, you're not focusing on the assignments, you're not focusing on what I'm teaching you, whatever. So again, it starts there. It starts with some kind of focus. And at the same time, look at yourself, how you've gone through your life, anybody gone through their life. Where has your intent been that whole time? Did you ever see that? Yeah, most people don't. That's one of the things I recognized as I went through the corporation, that I could see that most people had no idea what their intent is. And that's very important. That's the reality of yourself, more so than just creating an idea that, oh, gee, I'm fine. I'm a member. I'm a paid member. I pay my dues. So, gee, I'm fine. I'm taken care of by this idea called the master or the Mahanta. Well, those are just ideas until the individual can recognize the reality of it. Otherwise, it's not real to them if they never recognize it. It doesn't matter if you're with the master or not. If you never recognize it or have the intent to do it, it doesn't exist. Well, all this stuff doesn't exist anymore anyhow. The isness life has always been. But this is the focus now. This is how it is now. This is the new nowness. And those things that people are still playing with, well, that's fine. Everybody can have whatever they want. But that's not us. We are real. That's the reality of the position here. We're not spiritual or all these other ideas, etc. Like I said, not a teaching or a path or a doctrine or whatever. Those are things that people can play with. Those are with the babysitters. We're simply real. And you learn to become more real, but that's a decision on your own. And yes, the focus is a very big one, but a step at a time. So yes, you told me your experience and what the boys did. Well, that's the step. But as you keep going with your intent, and sometimes your focus goes here and there, whatever. But as you establish your intent, it's like a marriage between two people. They're going to go through storms and drama and stuff. But if the intent is still there, that's the workable part, you see. But if it's not, if that's given up and placed elsewhere, then things happen, don't they? So the intent is very important to place that. And if you intend to continue on, no matter what comes to you, no matter what you have to face, well, again, you're given the hint here, you have experiences, you see what's going on, you hear the experiences of others. And then, your mind's going to play tricks on you, your own mind, and others too. The dark forces are always going to say something like, oh, it's all fake, he's this or that or whatever. Well, you decide. That's the challenge too. I always take the risk. What makes sense? All these ideas and all the this and that and all the destruction that's going on by the so-called experts. And look at the sun shining. It has none of these attitudes. And that's how life is. It's something so real to be recognized, like the sun shining. So that's always something that you can use as a reference so that you are ready to take the risk and face the nonsense that comes in through creation. Especially today, the natural environment is not what it seems, but it's a lot better than these people poisoning and destroying it, that's for sure. But it's very secondary to what all life is. But at least it's something for us to survive here and do better so we don't get caught up in being unconscious, going into the astral plane and having to come back here because we don't know where else to go, because now we have it right now, this moment. And so the nowness life is, and learning to be now, focusing on the nowness. You don't need to chase things into the future. You don't need to wonder about things, because all life is. It's all available. You simply recognize it for what it is. You don't even have to think anymore. But again, each person decides their life. So all we do is present it, and we have fun being real. That was the short version.
Thank you, Duane. I was when I wrote down the word focus, I kept focusing on that and focusing on the reference for the is the sun, and I got this image in my imagination. It was Rebazar standing there, and how you guys do in the picture with the is, it was right behind him, and something told me to focus on that. Put my attention and my focus on that, and then as I kept focusing and focusing, the word focus, like you said, it turned into intent.
If I may, so I would like to get back to that focus question and explanation and things like that. So for me, it is just so much simpler. So the whole of life is it is the only real thing. So when comparing to anything else, which is not real, so this one is real. So how can one not be focused on what is real? That's simple for me. Thanks.
This planet Earth needs a lot of help from all of us right now. Dean Val of NUUU, Nations United, UNUversal, UNUversity, is contacting people around this world every day to share the importance of the all-natural environment supporting all of us. Dean Val and Duane Lee Heppner.org 501c3 have created CAN, Community Action Network, to help all communities become aware of how to be self-sufficient with permaculture and food and rainforests. We are always looking for real people to step up who want to learn what life on this earth is all about. We will be leasing large portions of land to create something wonderful for all communities everywhere. Contact Val Vitals on Skype and Facebook, and through the phone number and the website DuaneTheGreatWriter.net provided in the links, to get involved with what we all can do now. The NUUU, Nations United UNUversal UNUversity, is dedicated to supporting and providing a real purpose and real awareness with the all-natural environment supporting all of us. First comes this earth with food and rainforests, and to protect what is still here. For those who have the awareness to see what is actually taking place here with all the natural devastation, which is also purposely planned by WorldKontrollers, you now have a real opportunity to step up and do something with those who also care about your planet Earth. Duane Lee Heppner has created the NUUU, Nations United UNUversal UNUversity, which completely entails the all-natural environment everywhere, and a real education that has real value, and that far surpasses any commonly created indoctrinating educational system that does not focus on what sustains all of us naturally. Real survival makes sense with everything here that is self-sustaining.